Welcome to the Clique podcast. I'm Dani Watson, a mindset and manifestation expert and founder of the Clique, a company that helps women overcome their fears and limiting beliefs to create a life and business that they love. Within this podcast, I will help you get clear on what you want, identify the blocks that are holding you back, transform your mindset and raise your vibration so that you can co-create magic with the universe. If you are looking to design a life that truly sets your soul on fire and manifest more success and abundance, then you are in the right place. Good morning, ladies. Happy Monday. Let's talk money mindset. I've had lots and lots of questions and DMs requesting more content around money mindset. And specifically, a number of people have mentioned that they've been struggling to hit their income goals. They feel like they've been doing all of the things when it comes to manifesting. Yet the income goals that they're setting themselves, they're still not able to reach. So I thought for this episode, I want to dive into some of the things that may be holding you back from manifesting your next level income goal. Okay. And these are things that have been based upon my experiences when I have in the past set myself specific income goals and they haven't happened, or at least they've not happened when I've wanted them to happen. So the thing that I want to actually start with is thinking about how you are setting your income goals, and are you setting them in incremental upgrades? Okay, because it's all very good and well to say, you know what, next month I would love to manifest £100,000 within my business or within my life. Yet the most that you've ever manifested in 1 month has been 5,000. Because the leap from where you are and what you've experienced is a big leap between where you are and where you want to go, okay? Now, that's very much doable, and we can definitely experience these quantum leaps where it feels like we go from 0 to 100 overnight. That can definitely happen. And I've definitely experienced this through the manifestation process, where it is this 0 to 100 and it can feel amazing. But it definitely hasn't been the experience for all of my manifestations. In fact, the majority of my manifestations have been slow, gradual, steady manifestations where the things that I've called into my life have gradually got bigger and bigger, income included. And so this was actually one of the mistakes that I made when I set myself the goal of hitting my first 100K month within my business. It was actually quite a long process between me getting intentional about that goal and the physical manifestation of that goal. And I think one of the biggest reasons why was that it was a pretty big leap from what I'd made previously in my business to what I wanted to make. So the maximum I'd ever actually manifested within my business at this stage was around the £50,000 mark. Okay. Which is obviously a very significant amount of money to be manifesting in a month's work. However, if we think about the difference between that and £100,000, that's double the amount, right? And if we're thinking about being in business, to have a 100% increase in your business income in just 1 month that is huge. To do that in 1 year in the business world is actually huge. And I think I was actually very aware of this. I have done a lot of research around businesses and things like profit margins, the kind of the nitty gritty side of business, profit margins and, projected revenue and what is kind of the sort of the industry standards in terms of profit increase year on year. And I know that to have 100% increase in your turnover in 1 month is literally it is unheard of. Within most industries, it's unheard of. I think this is sometimes where things can often become a little bit distorted within the online business space, because these things can and do happen where people really sort of take off in a very, very short space of time. But often the issue with setting your income goals too far away from where you are now is that it's very good and well to set the goals, but do you fully believe it? to the point that you expect it to happen. Okay, and that's the important thing. It can't be a hope or a wish. It has to be an expectation. And if it feels too far out of your reach, if it feels like too giant a leap, if you kind of think of that income goal and you're thinking, wow, that feels really big, or that feels, so far removed from where I am now, energetically, you're not going to be where you need to be to actually physically manifest that goal. And that goal won't come into your existence until you energetically get there, until it feels like the next logical, milestone for you. So ask yourself, does it feel like the next logical milestone? Would you be surprised if you didn't get it? That's a great question to ask yourself. So when I was thinking back to, hitting my first 100K month, I thought, well, actually, if I didn't hit it this month, I wouldn't be surprised. And in fact, am I really expecting it? Probably not. There were so many months where I really wanted it to happen, but I certainly didn't expect it. And I know I didn't expect it because when it didn't happen, there wasn't that sense of surprise or, oh my goodness, I can't believe this hasn't happened. It's like, okay, frustration because, I've missed the milestone again, but it certainly wasn't something I was hugely surprised about. Okay, I just thought, okay, next month is going to be my month and I'm going to get excited for the next month, but it definitely wasn't, something that I was expecting. What I found really, really useful was to break down what my next income goal would look like and, how that was actually going to come into my life. So for me, I was thinking about income goals in terms of my business. So I found it really, really useful to actually break down, how many clients that would look like. And something that was really, really interesting was that at the time when I first set myself that 100K goal, I realized that in terms of my capacity at the time as a coach, I didn't actually have the capacity to even hit that goal. I was still doing a lot of one-on-one at the time, and a lot of the majority of my income actually was still coming from one-on-one. I had a group program as well, but I still had a lot of one-on-one interest. And I thought, well, actually, if I'm looking to pretty much double my income here, something within my business needs to change. I need to put more of a focus onto my group programs and getting more people into there versus my one-on-one. So do you have the space to receive the money or receive, let's say, for example, the clients? Where is perhaps the universe nudging you to look at your business in a different way? Because if I look back and think why I didn't hit that goal for so long and why it took me longer than what I wanted it to hit that goal, was because I was very much working in a way within my business that needed to change. For me to really step into my power as a coach and as a business owner, I needed to make some changes within my business. And the fact that I wasn't hitting the income goal forced me to make these changes. It was like the universe was nudging me. It said, I'm not going to take you there yet until you reevaluate how things are working within your business. And so actually that manifestation gap between me getting clear on this income goal and me actually hitting it, that gap, I look back now and I think, wow, I'm so thankful that I had that space. The space to really reevaluate how I was running my business and how I was showing up in my business. And there was a few pretty significant things that happened in that time. The first thing was really me scaling back how much one-on-one coaching that I was doing. I was almost clinging on to my one-on-one as a security blanket because that was kind of what most people were being drawn to. That was my higher price program. So I knew that that was, a really good income generator for me. But I knew at the back of my mind, I knew that this isn't scalable. For me to kind of be showing up just one-on-one predominantly isn't a scalable business model. I knew that I needed to put more of my energy and commitment into my group setting. So that was one change. The other change was the support I had within my business. I was pretty much at full capacity with the amount of discovery calls that I was doing. And I had been really, really reluctant, perhaps a little bit of a control thing, to bring anybody else on to do those calls for me. And so for me, kind of really starting to step into the role of the CEO and starting to bring on board team members was a huge, huge shift within my business. And I don't think these would have happened if I'd have hit that income goal straight away, because I would have thought to myself, well, things are working as they are, so why change things? But because my income goal wasn't manifesting, I, was paying attention to this, like, okay, what is the lesson from this? What can I take away from this experience? What can I learn from it? And what is the universe perhaps nudging me to do? Okay, so again, remember that everything is happening in your favor. When you aren't manifesting an income goal, it's not, it shouldn't be that you're just suffering for the sake of it. There is some amazing lesson or opportunity within that manifestation gap. And it's your responsibility to figure out what that is. What is the nudge from the universe here? Remember the co-creation process. It's a co-creation process. It's us and the universe. We can manifest miracles, but we also need to be proactive in terms of how we are showing up to bring money into our lives. Money's not just going to fall into our laps. We take one step and the universe is going to take a step with us. Now, something that I also found useful was to kind of think back about things that I'd previously manifested. They didn't need to be financial things, but things that I had, seen physically come into my life, and I'd been intentional about those things coming into my life, and thinking about, well, what was it when that thing manifested? What was it that really worked for me? And I started to kind of remember sort of the energy that I was in when I was in that receptive mode. So thinking back to times in my life when it just felt like everything was just working. Everything was just falling into place. I was, in the flow. I was manifesting things that I wanted. I was calling in things that I desired, and it just felt good. It felt wonderful. It felt, easy, joyful. I thought back to those moments in my life and I thought, well, what was it? I tried to reverse engineer the process, okay? Because if something has worked for you before, something will work for you again. And what I really started to pay attention to was thinking back to the energy that I had been in when things had manifested. And I actually went back to hitting my first 10K month within my business. And that was actually something that happened very, very early on within my business. And because it was so sort of prominent for me in terms of, my memory of it, because it was my first big income goal, and it was my first income goal that allowed me to quit my job. It was, a very, very vivid memory for it. And I could remember exactly how it felt in the build up to me hitting that goal. And so I started to think, well, what was it about my energy and my beliefs and how I was showing up that allowed me to hit that goal? And I could very clearly remember something very important. And it was the fact that I had decided. I remembered back and I remember thinking, it wasn't a hope or a wish. I wasn't just wanting that goal to happen. It was an absolute decision. It was an absolute decision that I was going to hit that goal. It was a non-negotiable. There were no other alternatives. And there was something about the way that my energy changed when I decided. And I could remember how that felt. So thinking back in times in your life before, when have you made an absolute decision on something? It doesn't necessarily need to be related to money or related to a goal. When have you been so committed to something? You've made such a commitment and decision to something that there is no other option. There is no other alternative. There's no ifs or buts about this. You are doing this. This is yours. When in your life previously have you had that? Because what you want to be able to do is to tap into that energy of decisiveness. And so I started to kind of think back and think, well, how did I show up, within my business once I'd decided? What was I thinking? What was I telling others? What actions was I taking? What decisions was I making? What what made the difference? Once I decided, what was the ripple effect of making that decision? And I started to really tap into that energy of decisiveness in relation to my 100K month goal. And it took me a little while to sort of really get into the feeling of this. Because remember, at this point, I wasn't there. I hadn't decided. It was a hope, it was a wish, it was a desire, but it certainly wasn't a decision. It wasn't an absolute expectation, no ifs, no buts. So it took me a while to build up that energy. But on a daily basis, and this is something, it perhaps will take that consistency and, daily subtle shifts of your energy. Playing around with this idea of, I've already decided on this. It's a non-negotiable. Cutting out from your mind any other alternative. There is no plan B. There is no what if this doesn't happen. There's no ifs or buts, but this is happening. And I started to plan for things within my business as if that 100K month had already played out. I started to do things that would support me in feeling like I decided that this had happened. This was already a done deal. So things like, hiring additional team members. What changes would need to happen within my business to support me now that my business was making £100,000 a year? Now I'd stepped into a 7-figure business. What did that business now need to look like? I started to make decisions aligned with the business I was creating rather than the business that I had. Something that was pretty huge for me was that I dramatically cut out, and I decided on this, it was a non-negotiable, I dramatically cut a huge chunk of my one-on-one work. So at the time, my one-on-one was my biggest source of income. And I did something that Napoleon Hill refers to as burning your bridges or burning your ships. If you've read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, brilliant book. He talks about this. Like going all in and being 100% decisive means cutting out any sort of plan B, any sort of alternative. And I knew that one-on-one was only going to get me so far. It was only going to allow me to hit a certain income milestone. If I really wanted to expand, I would need to let go of that and put more of my energy into my group. So I decided that my 100K month was a non-negotiable. And I decided that for this to happen, I need to be firm and I need to decide that this way of working with me, I need to cut it down. Okay? I took that leap of faith. I burnt my bridge. So a great question to ask yourself is, what do you perhaps need to let go of in order to step into your next income level? What do you need to let go of? And what do you need to start saying no to and being firm about that in order to step into your next income level? Now, something else that I really feel is worthwhile discussing here is the amount of energy and focus that I gave to my income goal the month that I finally hit it. Now, previously, it was definitely something that I was giving my energy to, but it wasn't necessarily something that was consuming my everyday thoughts. I was perhaps thinking about it in the morning when I was thinking about, my affirmations, and I was journaling and I was visualizing. And then perhaps I was thinking about it in the evening, but during the day I was kind of consumed with doing and, taking action and perhaps other things that I was, wanting to manifest at that time. The difference I found between the month that I did actually hit that income goal was that it was pretty much the only thing I thought about. It was something that completely consumed me. And not only that, but I actually even got my partner on board as well. Like, he was really fully on board with this income goal. We had it written everywhere in the house. We had it written on Post-it notes. We had a big whiteboard with, this month we are going to be hitting this income goal. I would... every time I got a spare moment, I would visualize that moment that the income was in my bank account. Okay, so I was really living that goal as often, as frequently as I could. I became completely consumed with this goal. And, it might be even to a point that it became obsessive. But the more you focus on something, the more you're going to call that thing into your existence. And what I found was that because I was so focused on this goal, I had less opportunity for my mind to wander on negative things or worrying about whether it would work or, doubting, because I was so intentional about what I was giving my energy to and making sure that, okay, this is the month. There is no ifs or buts about this. And I was filling my brain with thoughts of this goal is already mine. I've already hit this income goal. Because I was, very intentional about my thoughts. I had no space for negativity or doubt or fears. I was allowing myself to celebrate every single day as if that goal had already been hit. Okay, and celebration doesn't necessarily mean, having to go out and, buy yourself something, amazing every single day. You can tap into the energy of celebrating. Think about when you've celebrated something before. Remember, like when I was saying earlier about tapping into, when you've had these prior experiences that are going to support you with this goal. So where have you manifested things before and what was your energy in that space? Where have you celebrated things before? How did you feel at that time? Tuning into that energy. How does it feel to get the things that you want? When you've got the things you wanted previously, what did that feel like the moment that you reached that milestone? Again, doesn't need to be in relation to income. Maybe it's you finally got the keys to your house, or maybe you got a certain exam result at school, you got your degree through, or you got that job that you'd really been wanting. When that moment came, how did you feel? And again, going back into that energy, how can you tap into that energy now? That energy of celebration, that energy of I've made it, I've done it, I've won. Because that's the energy you need to be tapping into, okay? Feeling as if you've already won before you've got the physical evidence of it. Go back and allow yourself to relive those pivotal moments in your life. So for me, a really big one was getting my degree, getting my, passing my law degree, because I put so much work into it. And I just remember like the feeling of fear and like almost fear, but mixed with excitement as I was waiting for the results to come online. And I could remember that event very, very clearly. I remembered exactly where I was. I was in my room that I shared. Well, we were in a shared house that I lived in London. And I remember being at my laptop. I remember exactly what my room looked like. And I remember the feeling as I sat there and clicking through once the results appeared and seeing, that I'd got my 2-1. And that feeling, I could remember that so, so clearly. And just remembering how it felt to be like, yes, I've done it. I've hit it. I've achieved it. Going back into those memories can really support you. And again, tapping into that feeling of celebration and feeling like, it's already yours. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is not giving up until the final whistle blows. So what I mean by this is going all in, like staying committed to that goal, even as your deadline creeps closer. So often what happens, especially when we have a time-orientated goal, so a income milestone that we're looking to hit by a certain date, what typically happens is as we get closer to that goal, if we haven't had much evidence that that goal is going to manifest or that income is going to manifest, then we start to lose faith that we're actually going to make it. Okay, and this is the time that you want to be doubling down on your focus, on your energy, on your commitment, on, all of the mindset tools that you use to get you connected to that goal actually happening. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want the doubt and worry and fear to actually push that goal away. Okay, and this for me is where reminding myself that miracles occur, that the universe is always there to support me. This has really, really helped me in those moments. And I've had months where it's been super duper quiet for pretty much the whole month in terms of income coming in. And then literally the last 3 or 4 days of the month, the floodgates have opened and people have just seemed to kind of come from everywhere and anywhere. And this is the thing, we need to remind ourselves that we have to go all in on our desires and our goals and do everything that we can with what we have in the moment in a way that still, manages and respects our energy. So I'm not talking about pushing or forcing things here or stressing yourself out or burning yourself out. I'm talking about keeping yourself in that big action, but inspired action, aligned action that, keeps you in alignment, keeps you feeling good. Keep taking that big, massive action, but reminding yourself that you've no idea what kind of amazing miracles the universe can send your way as well. So it may be that a couple of days before your income goal is about to hit, and maybe you've not had any income come into your business or into your life that month, and you're thinking, am I actually going to do it? The time is ticking. Am I going to be able to do it? You need to keep showing up with the same energy that you had at the beginning of the month, the same level of excitement and enthusiasm and expectation that you had at the beginning of the month. Reminding yourself that you've no idea what kind of amazing miracles the universe can send your way. The floodgates could open tonight, and all of those amazing clients that, you were expecting to find you, or all of a sudden going to come landing into your inbox saying, I want to work with you. Remember that sometimes the physical manifestation of our inspired action isn't instantaneous. Often we are doing the work when it comes to our mindset, our beliefs, our energy, focusing on what we want, taking inspired action towards that specific desire. But the physical manifestation sometimes doesn't come straight away. So we have to remember that everything that we did at the beginning of the month is all leading to this moment, and everything could happen, the final day of your income goal, everything could come flooding in that very one day. And again, I've had evidence to support that this happens. It happens quite often, to be honest, within my business, where a lot of the income will come in over 2 or 3 days towards the end of the month. Okay, so you have to remember this. You have to never give up, on that goal, even if it feels like the time is ticking. Because as soon as you start to doubt, as soon as you start to wobble, you just push that desire further and further away. So I'm going to wrap things up there. Hopefully that's given you a lot to think about for today. And I think just kind of an important takeaway from this episode is to just really go back into what has worked previously. You've manifested things before. Income is no different, okay? Money is no different. What was it that worked for you previously? You can apply that to anything that you're looking to manifest moving forwards. Tap into that energy of I've done it. I'm celebrating this goal. I've made it. I'm expecting this to happen. When you've previously manifested what worked for you, and start to apply those things into your next big manifestation. Okay, so anyway, ladies, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will catch you on the next episode. If you are wanting to build your own successful online coaching business, make sure to check out Freedom, Abundance and Impact, our free 10-day business and mindset course for coaches and aspiring coaches. To access, simply head to wearetheclique.com and click free course in the menu.